Okay, so now it's time to take our portrait that we edited in Lightroom, open it in Photoshop, and apply these different effects to make it look like a tintype. So what you're going to do is open Photoshop. Go to the bottom of your screen, and you'll see a little square with PS. Mine looks slightly different because my apps are a bit newer, but we're getting updated apps in the lab in the next couple of weeks. So click on PS for Photoshop. That will open. And depending on who used it last, you'll see different windows open here. Before we do anything else, I want you to open the photo that you took or that you saved from Lightroom. So we're going to go to File, you're going to go to Open, and you're going to find that edited picture that you saved, and you're going to open that. Now I have mine open already, so this is where it is. Now, if you don't see the layers palette, you're going to need that. And if you don't see it, you need to go up to where it says Window and drop that down and go down to where it says Layers. Anytime you lose, if you need the layers or you need the tools and you don't see them, you go up to Window and you can get it back. Sometimes they close or sometimes they get lost. All right, we have layers, we have a background layer. First thing we're going to do is copy this background layer, and you're going to take it, click and hold down and drag it on top of this icon here next to this little trash can at the bottom of the layers window. That's going to copy the background layer. The next thing we're going to do with this is we're going to sharpen the photo dramatically. Well, we're going to sharpen it quite a bit. The way we're going to do that is to do what's called a high pass, and that is you want to be on this layer, excuse me, and you want to go up to Filter, go down to Other, and go to High Pass. Now, I know this looks odd, but we're going to fix it in a minute. You want the high pass to be a radius of 10. So type in 10, click OK, and you're going to see this weird gray thing. To get rid of that, we're going to go to the blend mode, which is this little menu up here where it says normal. Blend modes are just different ways to blend layers together, and we'll be using those more in the future. But to blend these two things together, we're going to go and do overlay. So this layer on top here is blended with the one underneath, and you can see that over here it's gotten quite a bit sharper, and we want that intense sharpness because that's the way tintypes look. If I turn this layer off and you just look underneath, you can see what it looked like before and now with the sharpness. So it really intensifies the sharpness. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is you're going to do a key command that is going to copy these two layers and put it on the top. So what you're going to do is hold down the Command, Option, Shift, and the letter E. And what that does is it copies all the visible layers into a new layer. And that's because we want to maintain all of this stuff the way it was before in case we need to go back. It's called non-destructive editing. So now we can move forward. We have the layer copy on top, and we're going to do a lens blur. A lot of the tintypes have the blur around the edges, and I told you that that's in a lot of cases was from the shutter being open so long and the person having moved or something, the shutter detecting some movement. And so we want to imitate that, and we go up to Filter, Blur, and we're going to do a lens blur. And the lens blur, it'll bring up a box, and you don't really need to do anything except go to where the radius is, and you're going to set the radius to 60. That's pretty blurry. Actually, let's stay at 50. Okay, so the radius is 50. We're going to click OK. Applying the blur filter. Then we're going to once more go to the filter, and we're going to go to blur, motion blur. This is going to add that kind of blur that is on an angle. It's like as if someone were moving. Set the angle to 10 and set the motion or the distance here to about 60 and click OK. Now, we want it blurred on the edges, so we want it to be clear in the middle, obviously. How we do that is and I know I'm introducing a lot of odd things. You're just going to go with me right now, and you'll get used to using some of this. We're going to apply a layer mask, which is down here, this little rectangle with a circle in the middle. You need to make sure you're on this layer, and you go down here and click it. What this does is it gives you a little overlay, and what we're going to do is, that's my dog chasing my cat. We're going to make sure this is selected, and then we're going to go over to the tools, and we're going to select the brush. It's just a basic brush. You could also just hold the B or tap the B key, and it went right to the brush. And you're going to make sure that you have black and white colors here. Now you can do that by just clicking default foreground and background colors. So this means that the foreground is black, the background color is white. If you click this, you may get white in the foreground and black in the background, and you need to switch that. So we want black in the foreground, white in the background. We want the brush tool selected. We want a nice soft brush, soft round brush, and we want it to be sort of large. And if you go to the, you can make the brush larger and smaller by just tapping the square bracket keys, and that's next to the P key on the keyboard. So I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you, but you're going to, the more you use these key commands, these shortcuts, the more used to them you'll get, and they save a lot of time. So if you look on your keyboard, next to the P key to the right, you'll see these bracket keys. One is the left bracket, one is the right bracket, and if you hold them down, they make the brushes bigger and smaller. And that's really handy because you don't have to keep going up to brush size or wherever that is. So if you click down, you're able to, what this does is you're able to clear out the middle of the picture. Like you want the center of it to be nice and sharp, and you want, I'm going to make it a little smaller now. Around the edges is where we want it to start to sort of fall off into the blur in the background. So we've got blurriness in this in the outside area, the way tintypes often were. Okay, after that, we're going to start doing some other things. We're going to take it in a different direction. We're going to do some things with, we're going to make it black and white and play around with channel mixers, and that's going to be in the next video. So if you haven't gotten this and you've been confused by all this, just replay this video, make sure you get this far, make sure you have the layer mask, and when you're done with that, pick up the next video.